The devastating moment Peter watched MJ move on, brand new day CinemaCon leak. Nobody in that theater was prepared for how quiet it would get. When the lights dimmed at CinemaCon and the brand new day footage began to play, the audience expected action, maybe a tease of the next big villain, maybe a dramatic reveal. Instead, they got something far more personal. MJ. Alive. Independent. Moving forward. The clip opened with her in a bright, modern setting, confident, composed, no chaos surrounding her. The tone was intentional. This wasn't a rescue scene. It wasn't about danger. It was about growth. And then the camera introduced someone new. Not with fanfare. Not with a dramatic soundtrack. Just naturally, as part of her world now. The conversation between them felt easy. Relaxed. The kind of dialogue that doesn't try to impress the audience, because it doesn't need to. They stood close. Comfortable in each other's presence. In the theater, people leaned forward slightly. Not in shock, but in attention. Because it was clear this wasn't a temporary tease. It was direction. Peter sat quietly among the audience. He didn't move much. On the surface, he looked composed. But internally, the moment carried weight. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't speculation. This was the story showing him, and everyone else, that MJ's life continues. On screen, her new boyfriend said something that made her smile. Not politely. Not awkwardly. Genuinely. That smile mattered. Because it wasn't written as confusion. It wasn't written as regret. It was written as certainty. Then came the moment that changed the atmosphere. A pause. A shared look. No dramatic build-up. No slow motion emphasis. Just a natural lean in. And a kiss. It was brief. Grounded. Realistic. Not exaggerated for effect. The kind of moment that signals commitment rather than spectacle. And that's when the room went still. Not because it was scandalous. But because it was definitive. There was no ambiguity in the scene. MJ wasn't torn. She wasn't forced. She wasn't emotionally conflicted. The storytelling framed it as her choosing this path. And that made it harder, and more meaningful, for Peter. The footage didn't cut to his reaction. It didn't need to. The silence in the theater spoke for itself. Viewers understood that this wasn't about shock value. It was about transition. After the kiss, the scene continued normally. MJ and her new partner walked together, their body language relaxed. No tension. No drama. Just movement forward. That visual mattered. Because the story wasn't painting this relationship as a twist, it was presenting it as stability. Peter watched without interrupting the moment. No confrontation. No outburst. Just observation. And inside that quiet space, something shifted. The devastation wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive heartbreak. It was acceptance trying to settle in. Seeing someone you care about build a future without you is a different kind of pain. It's not betrayal, it's timing. It's growth happening on separate paths. The CinemaCon audience began reacting once the clip ended. Conversations sparked. Speculation grew. Some were surprised. Others saw it as a mature storytelling choice. But the emotional core was clear. MJ has moved into a new era. And Peter witnessing that becomes part of his own evolution. The footage didn't frame him as losing something. It framed both characters as progressing. Sometimes devastation isn't about dramatic endings. Sometimes it's about realizing the chapter you hoped would continue, has transformed. When the lights came back up, the room felt energized again. But that quiet moment lingered, the kiss, the smile afterward, the calm confidence in MJ's expression. It wasn't designed to break the audience. It was designed to show that life doesn't pause for unfinished feelings. Peter eventually stood and left the theater with the crowd. No one could tell what he was thinking. But the moment had clearly changed something internally. Not because he was replaced. But because he understood the direction now. Brand New Day wasn't about clinging to the past. It was about moving forward, even when it hurts. And that single scene, simple and grounded, became the most discussed moment of the footage. Not because it was shocking. But because it was real. Sometimes the most devastating moments aren't loud leaks or dramatic twists. They're quiet confirmations that someone you once shared everything with, is building a new future. And sometimes, that's the point where growth truly begins.